The larger not-for-profit organizations have very unique for their which are the top 10 large not-for-profit CRMs into four. That's what we are going to discuss in the video. So let's dive in.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent CRM, ERP, and digital transformation. We help our clients with CRM selection, digital transformation strategy. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be top 10 large not-for-profit CRMs. Before we look at the list, let's define what is large not-for-profit from our perspective for this list. That is going to be any companies that are going to have more than 10 employees. For the most part, when we look at the needs of the large not-for-profit compared to the other market segment, the way we define them, that is going to be your startup, small business, mid-market, as well as large segment. So for the large segment, one of the primary differentiators is going to be that they are going to have a lot more implementation budget. They are also going to have the skill set from the IT maturity perspective. Their needs are going to be far mature because they are looking for the kind of transaction volume that might not be relevant for a smaller mid-size organization. In general, because of the transaction volume need, sometimes they might need to decouple their architecture. The consolidated state might not work for them just because of that transaction volume, the heavy lifting that is required from the transaction volume perspective. And because of that, and again, the complexity of not-for-profit increases as the size grows, the kind of funders that you are going to work, kind of reporting requirements that they are going to have, especially if they are donating large sums of money, they are going to have very specific milestones. They are going to have specific restrictions that you need to cover as well as report. And sometimes the reporting could be as complex as the way you are going to report for any of the public companies or very similar to financial reporting, but this is going to be at the grant fund level, and you have to accommodate that as part of your CRM workflow. Sometimes that could be accommodated as part of your ERP workflow, but then the customer information is going to be equally relevant to be able to capture that. So in a lot of cases, companies cover them as part of their CRM workflow. In general, their websites are going to be far more complex. The kind of interactions that they require, the kind of event planning that they are going to have is going to be very complex compared to the other markets. As the employee size increases, in general, you are going to have far more hierarchy and the approval flows that you will need for your organization. And because of that, the planning requirements, the security workflows that you are going to require, they are only going to be available in very large systems. And overall, from the business model perspective, the kind of industries that we cover as part of profit, this is going to be any of the associations, healthcare, charities, religious orgs, anything and everything that falls under that not-for-profit bucket. We consider that as part of this list. The criteria that we use to compile this list is going to be the product share, the acquisition strategy. If they are focused on the large not-for-profit segment, they generally score higher on this list. Then you have the product roadmap, community, ecosystem, win rate, etc. So these are some of the factors that we include to compile this list. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Blackboard CRM. And Blackboard is relatively known in the not-for-profit space. From Blackboard perspective, this would fall under that prescriptive category, which is great when companies are going to be limited on budget, but in general, in this particular market segment, their needs are going to be slightly more diverse. Their business models are going to be complex. So the prescriptive systems might not be as relevant. They might not be able to process the same transaction volume that you are going to have as the large company. That's why any of the prescriptive systems that you're going to find in the market, they might not rank as well in the large category. So here, the scope of Blackboard CRM is going to be limited to, let's say, if a large company is using at the subsidiary or at the division level, then Blackboard CRM right fit, because even though it is being used by the large company, but for the most part, they are being used only for the subset of the process or processes or subset of the transaction volume. So again, even though it is being used by the large company, the scope is very similar to your mid-size or the smaller company in terms of the kind of workload that this CRM would process in large organization. So that's why you might see systems such as your Blackboard having very large logos, but their scope might be limited. The kind of workload that they might be processing might be limited as well. So the other strengths that you're looking at from the Blackboard CRM perspective is, so if you're a large company, but you are limited on your implementation budget, you might not have as much consulting budget. You might not have appetite to hire the consulting companies, then this might be a great choice because you are going to have a lot of prescriptive flows that are going to be pre-baked, pre-built, pre-tested. So you don't need to invest as much time in configuring those workflows. The other strengths that we have from the Blackboard CRM perspective is that they utilize the Microsoft Power Platform, which is pre-integrated with it. So you get a lot more flexibility in general, at least from the workflow collaboration perspective, if you are going to have a lot of workflows around that. So that's a huge plus for Blackboard CRM. Now, the limitations that we have from Blackboard CRM perspective is the scalability and the customizability. And the scalability is going to be from both perspectives, whether you look at this more from the transaction volume perspective or just the scalability of different business models, different transactions, different business processes. So you are going to have limitations there. The technology and the cloud native features that you might need. In general, the way Blackboard CRM is laid out at this point of time, they are in a very similar position as some of the other legacy CRM vendors, where their cloud version is not as much as their on-prem version. So you are going to find limitations in that. They might be able to position their cloud offering during the demo, but when you are going to look for those advanced features that any large not-for-profit is going to require, that's when they are probably going to move you to their on-prem version. And the experience might not be as great with the on-prem version. Some of the implied features, for example, let's say right now in 2024, your implied expectation is going to be that you have the enterprise search, you have capabilities such as mobility, and those features are going to be limited with the legacy technology because they were not designed to support these features. So that's number 10. Now, number 9 on our list is Pegasystems. And Pegasystems is going to be relevant for large not-for-profit companies that are heavy on call center operations. In general, Pegasystem is a very technical system. They have low code, no code, BPM centric processes. You can enable whichever processes that you like on top of Pegasystems, but the challenge that you're going to have is to be able to enable those not for profit specific processes. You are looking at substantial consulting effort that you need to invest to be able to enable the same processes that might be available, for example, with your Blackboard CRM. So you get the flexibility, but your implementation consulting budget is going to be much higher with Pega systems. The other strengths that we have from the Pega systems perspective is they have some industry specific templates, but those templates are not going to be as rich as what you are going to find with some of the prescriptive systems. So depending upon whether you care for flexibility or are you limited on budget, those will be some of the drivers based on which you need to decide which system is going to be the right fit. The other limitations that we have from the Pega systems perspective is it could be extremely complex. So unless you have very mature IT organization, this might not be the best fit. And some of the other limitations are that Pega systems, even though it's very technically capable system, it is not as well adopted as the mainstream CRM in the large not-for-profit segment as the other system that we have on this list. So that's number 9. Now, number 8 on our list is Lead Squared. And Lead Squared is a system which is very well adopted in the education healthcare segment. The strengths for Lead Squared is that this would fall under that prescriptive category, and they are going to have workflows enabled from the large education as well as healthcare not-for-profit perspective. But since this is a prescriptive system, because of that, the challenge that you are going to run into is the scalability of the business processes. And if you are going to be very diverse organization, then this might not be the best fit because it might not be able to support all of those processes, business models, as well as transactions. The other strength that we have from the Lead Squared perspective is that it has some customizability, but it is not going to be as customizable as you are going to find some of the other systems that we have on this list, whether they are going to be the likes of Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE, or some of the technical low-code, no-code systems such as your Creatio or Pega systems. They are going to be more customizable. The Lead Squared is going to support some workflows, but then you outgrow them quickly in general because they are designed for very specific state, very specific business model, as well as transactions. The other strength that we have for Lead Squared is it is very well adopted among very large public sector as well as education companies. So you are going to have a lot more workflows in general that are going to be relevant for those companies. And then they also have support for things such as your students account management or the students cloud, student information management. In general, in these verticals, you are going to have a lot more overlap with this particular system with your CRM processes. So that's a huge plus for Lead Squared. Now, the limitations that you're looking at from the Lead Squared perspective is that they are not going to have as detailed security layers. They also struggle with their portal stability. Some of the users have reported that there are some issues with that. And again, even this one is not as well adopted as the main CRM as some of the other systems on this list. But having said that, Lead Squared is still a great system for those large education as well as healthcare not-for-profit. That's number 8. Number 7 on our list is HubSpot CRM. And this is going to be relevant for large not-for-profit companies that are going to be very heavy on their CMS needs as well as upstream marketing. So if the purpose of acquiring your CRM is to enable any of the processes that are going to be driven from your website, or if you are looking for omni-channel connectivity as well as traceability across the channels, in those cases, HubSpot may be a great fit. The other strength that we have from the HubSpot perspective is that the ecosystem and integration, you are going to find a lot of tools that are part of their ecosystem that you might be able to utilize to complement the capabilities that HubSpot offers out of the box. But those ecosystem and integrations might not be as relevant for the not-for-profit. Not-for-profit companies, they require very specific integrations as well as tools. So even though you are going to find a lot of generalized tools, they might be as relevant for not-for-profit. The other strength that we have for HubSpot CRM is their cloud-native technology, which is one of their platform is very modern and new. So you can expect all of those features that you will find in any of the modern platforms, such as your search. It's going to be your mobility features. Those are going to be there. Now, the limitations that you have with HubSpot CRM is for the downstream marketing, and these are going to be your operational transactional workflows to be able to support those grant and processes, to be able to support different business processes, different business models. When you have to have those workflows enabled that are going to be slightly more sequential in nature, and that you are trying to process in sequential steps, that's where HubSpot CRM may not be the best fit, just because it's a very constraining model in general. It is not designed for those operational transactional workflows. The kind of data model that HubSpot has, it's very limited in general for the complex hierarchies of the customers or complex interactions that you are going to have among your business processes as well as business transactions. So then the other limitations that you have from the perspective is the kind of discrepancy you have between as well as core objects. The core objects are going to have far more triggers as well as the options that you are going to have. Those options are not going to be available with the custom objects. And in general, with the not-for-profit companies, you are probably going to require a lot more custom objects depending upon the business model. All of the business objects that are going to be built, for example, let's say with the prescriptive CRM, such as your Blackboard CRM, those you need to build it yourself. And then even if you build it, then those objects are going to be really limited in capturing, in taking any sort of actions that you have to take based on any triggers that you might have with the business objects, the custom objects. So these are some of the limitations to keep in mind, and that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is Zoho CRM. And Zoho CRM in general is designed for slightly more uh, transactional use cases. Their data model is very similar to Salesforce. And also with Zoho CRM as part of the bundle, you are going to find a lot more apps that are bundled as part of the same package. So you are going to have a lot more flexibility in enabling those workflows from the not-for-profit perspective. In general, you are probably going to require the project management. You are going to require the CRM, the marketing, app from the Zoho portfolio. Sometimes you might require the accounting app as well, depending upon how your flows are structured. But in general, Zoho CRM is not necessarily positioned for very large companies. So if you are looking for complete connectivity for data models as well as across departments, the kind of workflows that you are going to with your ERP systems, that may not be possible with Zoho CRM, because the apps that they have as part of their package, they each are going to have their own database, their own data model. So in general, you don't have as much between those data models as well as databases that you have packaged as part of this whole Zoho bucket. You can enable some of the communication, but the communication is not going to be as intertwined, not going to be as immersive as you are going to find with some of the other systems that are going to use just one data model, for all of the apps, for all of the locations. In general, when you are going to be a large not-for-profit, for the most part, you are probably going to be globally present. And if you are looking for the central traceability across different locations, that's going to be a limitation with your Zoho CRM as well, because they don't necessarily have communication between different data centers. Depending upon your regulatory need, where you need to keep your data, if you're going to have limitations around that, then Zoho CRM might not. So some of the other strengths that you need to keep in mind with Zoho CRM is that they have far more detailed triggers on the custom object. For example, with HubSpot, you had that limitation. So with Zoho CRM, you are probably not going to have that. The customizable model is, slightly richer. In general, overall, from the object perspective, they might not be as rich from the data model perspective. And all of those enterprise apps are part of the same bundle. So that is another plus that they have. And their layout screens, the security, etc., is good. All. So that's a huge. the other limitations that you're looking at from the Zoho CRM perspective is that if you care for those upstream marketing as well as CMS workflows, for that Zoho might not be as rich. HubSpot, was there for those workflows, and then again, no communication between the center. So if you're looking for those global workloads, that could be a huge challenge with Zoho CRM. So that's number 6. Number 5 on our list is Creatio. Creatio is a very technical system, the way your Pega systems was positioned. So with Creatio, you are looking at a lot more, consulting budget to be able to enable those not-for-profit workflows. If you are going to talk to them, they are all going to say that this is low code, no code. You don't require as much effort in that. Yes, that is partially true, but even then, you are going to have a lot of proprietary knowledge that you need to maintain and you need to work. So sometimes the consulting effort could be more, and it requires very specialized consultants to be able to enable these workflows on platforms such as your Creatio. The other strength that we have from the Creatio perspective is the customizability. And customizability is going to be across the business model. So if you have very complex business model, you have many, many, many different business models that you are trying to support. As part of your not-for-profit, you might have construction flavors, you might have real estate flavors, healthcare flavors, you might have education flavors. So if you have all of those flavors in general, a lot of other CRM systems might fit because they are designed for a specific state, a specific perspective. So in those cases, this could be a great system because it is a very technical system and you can enable any workflows, you can support any number of business models as you like without getting into the complexity of code, etc. The other strength that we have from the Creatio perspective is their integration and ecosystem is great, but then you are not going to as many integration as well as ecosystem options for your not-for-profit. The deployment flexibility is also there if you are worried about your code cost, and that could be substantial for the larger organizations. If you care for that, then you are going to have deployment flexibility as well with Creatio. So that's a huge plus. Now, the limitations that you have from the Creatio perspective is enabling not-for-profit workflows would require expensive consulting, and then their UI is probably going to be clunky as well, and marketing automation is probably not going to be as intuitive as you are going to find with some of the other systems. So that's number 5. Now, number 4 on our list is SAP C4 HANA. This is great for large not-for-profit that are going to have substantial volume. If they are looking for the enterprise grade system that can support many different business models, different business processes, then your SAP C4 HANA system. Some of the other strengths that we have from the SAP C4 HANA perspective is the whole grant and fund reporting. So if you are going to be in those financial scenarios where you need those capabilities, that's where your SAP C4 is going to shine. This is especially going to be relevant if you are SAP S4 HANA from the ERP perspective, then SAP C4 HANA could be for you. Then other strengths that we are looking at from the SAP for HANA perspective is the best of breed integrations. So some of the integrations that SAP provides, for example, let's say if you have HCM system or time and expense, for example, Concur, etc. Some of the integrations from the procurement perspective, all of those systems, if you are getting those from SAP, some of those are going to be pre-baked, pre-baked. So you might not have to spend as much on consulting, but depending upon the state of your data, depending upon the state of your processes, sometimes those may not work, and then you might end up creating your integrations. So that's always a possibility, but at least you have the options. Let's say if they can work as is, then you are probably not spending as much on integrations as well. The limitations that you're looking at from the SAP for HANA perspective is their capabilities from marketing automation are probably not, and then you are not going to have as many upstream marketing in all. So that's a negative for them, and it's going to be extremely expensive to implement. So those are some of the limitations to keep in mind, and that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Oracle CX Cloud. And Oracle CX Cloud is a very enterprise grade system, C4 HANA, and it is very well adopted in the public sector, education centric spaces. And that is because they have a lot of out of the box capabilities. For example, let's say the student cloud, which generally overlaps with your CRM processes. So all of those, if you require all of those capabilities, then Oracle CX Cloud. The strengths that you have from the Oracle CX Cloud perspective is that they have enterprise grade marketing automation product that is bundled as part of the same package compared to your SAP HANA, which is going to be slightly limited in their capabilities. Here you have a product that was own in the marketing automation space, and they are providing that as part of Oracle CX Cloud. The grant and fund reporting requirements that you're going to have. So it's going to be very similar to your SAP for HANA, and especially if you are going to be other Oracle products, for example, Oracle Cloud ERP, then Oracle CX Cloud is going to be a great fit because you are going to find some of those pre-baked, etc., which might save some money from the consulting perspective. But again, you need to ask them to be able to bet if they are going to work for your use cases. Now, the some of the other strengths that you have from the Oracle CX Cloud perspective is that it is also a very enterprise-grade platform. So they are going to have the enterprise-grade capabilities. Some limitations to keep in mind are going to be in marketing integrations as well as ecosystem. They are not going to be as rich as what you are going to find with systems such as your HubSpot. But again, you can find many different options inside Oracle ecosystem, including HubSpot. In most cases, a lot of companies are going to use another marketing automation platform with their CRM. So that is something you might be able to do. But from the downstream marketing perspective, from the core transactions that are going to be relevant for your customer use cases, for those, Oracle CX Cloud is a great. And then this is going to be very similar to your SAP C4 HANA, which is going to be far more expensive to implement just because you have to enable those not-for-profit workflows that might be enabled out of the box with the not-for-profit prescriptive systems. Then you're also going to have the steep learning curve just because the kind of transaction model to have the kind of transaction that Oracle can support. It requires far more moldability, and because of that, the layers are going to be far more complex. So it might appear overwhelming. So that's why you are in general, but these systems for those enterprise use cases or a diverse business model. That's why they need layers. So that's number 3. Number 2 on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE. And this is going to be for large not-for-profit companies that are looking for very customizable workloads. In this particular case, you are going to have the CRM, which is going to have all of those processes that you are going to find with any generalized CRM. But for the most part, you will need to enable all of those not-for-profit workflows, and that will drive your implementation budget. Sometimes that could pose a lot more risks in general. Now, with Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE, the advantage that you have is you have a lot more options available through their ecosystem. For example, they have Mission CRM, which is going to have very prescriptive, not-for-profit workflows that are going to be pre-baked, pre-built, as part of their ecosystem that you might be utilize. But then when you are going to use these add-ons, sometimes you are going to lose on the flexibility that the core platform is going to provide. So if you are going to have many different business models, sometimes that could be harder to accommodate in terms of how these transactions are going to work together. And you might feel that you are sort of locking yourself with these add-ons when you are going to use them as part of your architecture. So again, if you are going to be very diverse, you need to think through your architecture design in how those business models are going to work together, especially if you are using an add-on which might be designed for a very prescriptive business model, prescriptive transaction. They are sort of hijacking the processes from your core model. And once they hijack, then you are sort of in their control terms of what you might be able to do, and any customizations that you have to do. Sometimes you might have to do on top of them if you are customizing the processes that they have already hijacked. Now, in some cases, you might have some of the parallel processes that you might be able to build on the core platform along with this, but again, then you are not going to as much connectivity between those processes. So those are some of the things. Some of the other strengths that we have from the Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE perspective is that this is going to be highly customizable for enterprise needs. And then you have some of the other strengths that we have is the full suite, including ERP, field service, etc., is provided as part of the suite. Those are going to be pre-integrated. So that's a huge plus for Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE. Now, the limitations that you have from Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE is that they are going to have limited marketing automation capabilities. You have a lot of options available through their ecosystem, so you might be able to use that. That's not a big challenge in general, just because the kind of integration or embeddedness that you're going to require from the CMS perspective, generally that's okay, but then you are going to lose a lot in terms of the traceability, especially the kind of traceability that you are going to get with the systems like what you might not be able to get that. But again, that's where you need to make a choice whether you want transactional nature system or you care more for the marketing use cases. So depending upon what is the priority for you, based on that, you need to make a decision and select the right system. Some of the other limitations that we have from the Microsoft Dynamics 365 perspective is just like your SAP C4 HANA, Oracle Cloud, this is probably going to have a very steep learning curve in general, because the system is slightly more complex. It has a lot more traffic rules from the data model database perspective. They are trying to enforce those to have the data integrity that you are going to require as the large not-profit, and because of that, sometimes the system might not be as easy as what you are going to find with these models. So that's number two. Number one on our list is Salesforce. And Salesforce is a very enterprise grade system, just like your Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE as well. The strengths that you have from the Salesforce perspective is they have a lot more service packs that they are providing out of the box compared to other providers. The challenges are going to be similar as you are going to have with the add-ons in Microsoft ecosystem, where if your service pack is going to hijack the processes, sometimes the customization could be tricky because you need to customize on top of that service pack. You are sort of limited by the boundaries of that service pack. So again, you need to do a little analysis in terms of how the model is going to work, especially if you are going to have very complex business model. If you are going to be pure play not for profit, then this could be a great fit. You might be able to customize the workflows on top of that, but if you are going to be slightly more complex, that's where you are probably going to run into challenges. So other strengths that we have from the Salesforce perspective, it is highly customized. And that is something that you are not going to get with the prescriptive systems that are designed fully tailored for your not-for-profit. Here, you can customize a lot more in general. And then for larger companies, the territory planning, some of the things such as your sales com, etc., if you are going to have that for your business team, then you might run into challenges with the systems. With Salesforce, that is not a challenge. Some of the other limitations that we have from the Salesforce perspective is their marketing automation product is not going to be as embedded as some of the other marketing automations, where those workflows are going to be intertwined. They are going to be embedded as part of your workflows. With Salesforce, you are looking at complete product. Sometimes you might use add-on, so that's going to be a limitation with Salesforce. With Salesforce also, your consulting is going to be fairly expensive. The licensing cost is going to be fairly expensive as well, because this is a very enterprise grade system. They have all of the workflows that you are going to require for a very complex IT organizations, but again, that comes at a cost. The final limitation that we have from the Salesforce perspective is that website integration might require add-ons, and you might not have the same traceability that have the systems such as HubSpot, so that's going to be a negative for Salesforce. So that's number one. If you enjoyed this video, this is also available in the audio form on major podcasting platforms. So if you want to check on Apple, Spotify, etc., you might want to head there and subscribe. We are going to link a detailed article that is going to have much deeper insights. So you might want to check that. If you have not checked our digital transformation report for 2024, we include a lot of these insights and we publish on a yearly basis. So you might want to check that. We are going to link that as well. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.